welcome to Dear Katie, the podcast that amplifies courageous voices and real stories of resilience, healing, and hope after trauma. Inspired by the many letters Katie has received over the last 20 years, each week she interviews survivors, healers, and experts to honor their stories and explore the many paths to healing and hope. Before we begin, please know, many episodes of Dear Katie cover sensitive topics related to sexual violence, trauma, and recovery. Listen with care and take the space you need to take care of yourself. Your well-being is what matters most. Now, let's join Katie and today's guest for a conversation that matters.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dear Katie podcast. As you know, I am Katie Koestner, the founder of Take Back the Night, also a survivor, appearing on the cover of Time magazine at age 18, so long ago. But so much good has happened, I think, because of all I have been through. And hence the podcast has been, I think, such a joy to have all these discussions. And for all of our listeners, if you're keeping that journal, like I've been suggesting, please keep that up and come back and visit it. You never know what magical moments are going to come out of each and every episode. And if any point you need to take a break, go outside, get some fresh air, a cup of coffee, tea, whatever you need. Good self-care is always the priority. So you are going to adore, I think, again, another fantastic guest, Leslie. I'll read you her little bio. Leslie Crowe is a writer, an advocate, a survivor. She brings honesty and compassion to difficult conversations. Leslie is a proud mom of two sons. They're both in college now, and a longtime autism advocate. She founded an organization called NeedQuest to help families navigate resources for children with special needs. She also is a breast cancer survivor and a fierce advocate for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. After many years of her own silence, Leslie found the courage to release her shame and speak openly about her experience. She uses her voice to challenge, silence, create space for healing and truth and accountability. So welcome to the show, Leslie. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so honored to meet you and to
Good.
Yeah,
to
be here.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like you're a champion of many causes. And I think sometimes those causes grow out of our personal experiences. So, and I think one thing that struck me just thinking about you as a mother, but it's like you almost did a reverse order of advocacy. You had these big hurdles come your way, and even though the first one was your own at a young age, right? You kind of ended up there at the end. So we could talk about all of it. So where did you grow up, and what was that like?
Well, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So I grew up until I was 5. We lived in Atlanta, Georgia, Sandy Springs. And then my parents got divorced and my mom remarried and we moved to Michigan. And then we moved again to Charlottesville, Virginia, which is where I spent most of my childhood in Charlottesville, Virginia. Yeah. Did
you stay there for college, like right at UVA?
No, I wish. I love UVA. I did actually. I went to Radford University in Southwest Virginia.
Okay.
So I did stay in Virginia. And then I moved to New York to be an actress and a singer.
Fun.
And that's how I ended up in New York. And then I got married and had children and moved to the suburbs, sort of the natural progression, for Manhattanites. And now I live in New Jersey.
So when you were growing up, your parents separated when you were 5, did you say? They divorced?
Yeah, they divorced. Yeah. Mm-hmm. When I was 5.
And did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have 2 older brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And I guess I hate to ask, did you know when you were, young children do recognize when their parents are not together. Did that was that a stressful part of your growing up, or?
Well, I was pretty young. Mm-hmm. So I think I was 4 when they separated, okay, and maybe 5 when they actually divorced. And I'm pretty sure my mom remarried by the time I was 6.
Okay.
So I remember the remarriage. I remember my father coming to visit us, but I don't really remember a lot of like fighting or divorce. I don't remember conversations or anything like that.
Okay. So that wasn't like a big chunk. And I guess what kinds of things were you doing? It sounds like you wanted to be an actress. So is that like, were you the music, theater, singer, dancer kid, or did you play any sports? Like, what was all of that life outside of school like?
I was a theater kid. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
started singing pretty early in fourth grade. I started singing, and that became a real outlet for me. And I sang in high school. I was in choir, and then when I went to choose a college, I knew that I wanted to pursue theater, and I wanted to be an actress and a singer. And then after college, I moved to New York. I got a scholarship to AMDA, which is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy.
Yay. Okay.
Yep, yep. And I remember I couldn't wait to move to New York City. Charlottesville's a wonderful town, but to me it felt like small town America, and I just wanted to move to New York. So I pursued acting and singing for many years. I sang for 3 years on a cruise ship,
Oh my
which was
goodness.
super fun. Yeah,
That's
that was really fun. I toured Europe with a show. So I did a lot of things as a performer.
That's very adventurous, Leslie. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And so when did you meet? Did you have, I guess, another question, since we're talking about sexual abuse, like in terms of you had the brothers, the stepdad, what was your, like growing up boyfriend situation? Like, did you like boys, unnecessary boys? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I definitely, and we'll talk about this a little more. I really struggled after the abuse. I struggled to really fully connect with
Hmm.
people.
Okay.
Right, as I'm sure you know, this early trauma when you're a young age can change the way your brain develops, and I call it like it's like a glass wall went up,
Hmm.
where I just struggled to connect with people. So I struggled to connect with girls. I struggled to connect with boyfriends. So I had boyfriends. Certainly, I had a boyfriend in high school who was wonderful. I had a boyfriend in college, but it was always filled with drama. I struggled to stay connected. I
Okay.
can't think of a boyfriend that I had where we didn't break up 27 times.
I love that. That's a great line. That's like so funny, Leslie. I love
Yeah,
it. But I think, there's days when I feel like I could break up with my husband 27 times.
I know.
And I could break up
I
with my kids 27 times. Like, it's always like, but then there's this, the sticky paper is maybe when we dig a little deeper and the love is there.
yeah,
As long as there's
yeah,
no abuse, irritation can come and go,
of course.
or intolerance for certain things. But
Yeah.
actually, I was going to say this. I usually don't talk as much, but I was thinking,
Go
like this
ahead.
morning, I was thinking, ultimately, we need to keep telling ourselves, especially as women. I think well, women love sports too, but I'm thinking women have always been trained to make other people happy. And then the Prince Charming narrative, like then there'll be this prince and you'll be that good of a girl that he'll dote on you. I'm like, I was thinking Miley Cyrus totally had it right. Like, I could buy myself flowers. Like, I don't need this. Like, let's just make ourselves a little more happy and not put so much pressure on ourselves.
I know, right? Right? It's
Yeah.
so important, right? Like taking care of your own needs and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
looking to, of course.
Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
reflecting on that this morning. I was like, you're not going to fix anybody else. And if you can't don't try and like keep fixing. You can fix up a house. You can grow some flower. You can grow some plants. You can cook something. Like, think of the realistic things you could actually do.
I know. I
Don't
love
try-
that book. My son introduced me to that book by Mel Robbins. You know that book, The Let Them
Yeah.
Theory.
Let them.
I love that
That's a
so
great line
much.
too.
Right?
Yeah, that's like, let them do their thing.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, I think the more we just keep that going in our heads, the better off. But nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
we should
Mm-hmm.
say, because I kind of said, you dealt with the trauma toward the end of all the other things that you've been tackling so well. But when in your early life, what was it that happened to you? What happened to you? The question, right? What have you been through?
Yeah. Well, so my mother remarried pretty quickly after she and my father got divorced. And she married a man that I don't believe she knew him that well. I ended up getting divorced in my own life years later and reading books on divorce. It's kind of a classic divorcee mistake where you marry the next person. You don't take that time in between your divorce and your new marriage for yourself to learn how and why it happened, make better decisions. And particularly in that time, this was the 70s, she just rushed out and met this man and married him. And I cannot think of a time, maybe there was one time that he was nice to us. And that was when they were dating. I remember one time in a park or something. He took us to a park. And then after that, from the moment he entered our house, he was an absolute nightmare. He was volatile. He was intimidating. He was aggressive. He was violent. He would, discipline us with anything he could find. He loved to take his belt, to pull the belt out and turn it into a strap and hit us with it. He would hit us with anything he could find, a hairbrush, a wooden spoon. I remember seeing a broken hairbrush in the bathroom as a kid and kind of not knowing who was that. My older brother was, which of my brothers was the recipient of that. My brothers and I, we lived in constant fear of him. I remember we moved to Michigan, and I believe he was a student. And so he had daytime, there were hours during the day that he would be home. And I remember I walked to school at that time, and I would walk home, and if I saw his car, you would just go to a neighbor's house. Your heart would sink when you saw his car. And he would curse at us. He would, I wet the bed at the time. He would hit me with a belt if I wet the bed. It was like anything could set him off. Like, I don't know if you ever saw this movie, This Boy's Life, with Robert De Niro. But there's a scene where the stepfather is the boy says that the mustard jar is empty, and Robert De Niro holds it in his face and he says, "Does this look empty to you?" Because he didn't want any waste.
Right.
That, he would open up the dishwasher and pull out a glass, and if there were spots on it, he would be like, "Does this look fucking clean?" I don't know if you can curse on this podcast.
Okay, you can curse.
Okay. He would be like, "Does this look fucking clean?" And we were kids. I think I was like 7 at the time. And so then whoever was, in his path would have to do the dishes by hand. We constantly had to do chores. You had to weed, go outside and weed. The boys had to mow the lawn. It was just, I just can't even, it was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So that went on. So that was 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we moved to Virginia because I guess he was going to school again. So we moved to Virginia, and we moved to a townhouse where there were bedrooms upstairs and bedrooms downstairs. And by now, he and my mom had another child, my half sister, and had a child, not another child, had their first child. And I shared a room with her downstairs in the downstairs bedroom. And one night he came into the bedroom to check on the baby. And then he came over and sat on my bed and just started touching me, touching my leg and talking to me. And I remember thinking, why are you being so nice? It was, it was so unlike him. It was just, so then, as you can imagine, it just became a night. So then every night after night after night, and it just got worse and worse and worse until it was just full-on molestation, full-on a grown man on top of a little girl. It's so hard for me to even say the words.
Of course, Leslie, of course.
But I remember I was 9 or 10 when this was going on, and I remember walking the hallway at school, and I was so confused. I was a little kid. I remember I wanted to ask one of my girlfriends if her father did that to her.
Oh, right. That
right?
would be
Because
smart.
well, right, you just
Yeah.
like you know it's wrong, but the that person in authority is doing everything they can to convince you that it's fine, that it's okay. There's tons of cooing and shushing. I remember crying and saying, please stop. That did no good. And so it escalated and got worse and worse until I told you I wet the bed, which is also its own source of shame.
Right.
And so he came into my room, I'd wet the bed. He told me to go to the bathroom. And I went into the bathroom and I was on the toilet. And he walked in naked.
Oh, God.
I mean, I couldn't even go to the bath. You know what I mean? He didn't even give me that moment to go to the bathroom. And I remember I jumped up and I had this wet flannel Lawns nightgown on. And I don't remember what happened after that, to be honest. There's so much of this, I have my core memories. You know how memory is, right? It's like you have your core memories, those moments, seeing him come in, literally like a movie, like a shadow in the door. The one time he pulled me into the laundry room downstairs during the day and tried to touch me under my dress. So I kind of wiggled away. I have these moments that I remember, but after he came into the bathroom.
Leslie, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is that was a lot. It was. Thank you for sharing all that. It's really powerful, brave, disgusting.
This is water.
It's all the things. You have the water.
I know. I thought about putting vodka in here. I don't even drink vodka.
Okay.
I was like, I need something.
No, water's good. Water's good. Here's a question. People when I would tell when I do to this day, telling my story of what happened that night. To me, it was one night, right?
Yeah.
But people ask, what was he thinking, or what was? And for me, my rapist definitely, it was sex. Like he deserved it. He wanted it. He was going to get it, and he was happy. He took it. So anyway, I was thinking about my assailant, and then this is your stepfather, and it happens so often, and you were so young. I was wondering, like, did you ever sense his emotional state, or, I was just talking to another guest about power and control versus sex and gratification. And incest is so complicated. So I guess I don't think we've ever talked about what we thought our assailant, our relative, was thinking, or whether we could even go there. But did you ever go back and think, was he really getting sexual satisfaction from me, or what was it about? Because he also had your mom, right? So I guess that's my question. I guess if you're comfortable answering it, is something, if I was in your shoes, I think some part of me would be like, was he treating my mom this way? Was it different from like that sexual relationship? Like, I guess, did you ever think about it, or try and understand what his mindset was? If that's too painful, it's okay.
No. Well, it's, after that incident in the bathroom, even though I don't know what happened the rest of the night, the next day, I believe I told my mother.
Oh, okay.
What was happening. And so she went and confronted him wherever he was. And I stayed home from school that day, and she came home, and she didn't, I'm not sure that it wasn't that she didn't believe me, but she just said, honey, don't you think maybe it was a dream?
Oh, God.
I know, right? Like, don't you think you dreamed it?
Oh, my gosh. Denial big time.
I know. And I remember at the time, I don't know what I said in that actual conversation, but I do remember at the time, as she was talking, he denied it. He would never hurt me. whatever she said, I do remember thinking instinctively that she wasn't going to do anything. She had just married him.
Right.
She had it. Oh, and she was pregnant.
Oh, no. Right.
So I just remember thinking she is not going to do anything. So I just said, okay, Mom, I guess I dreamed it. Even though I knew I didn't dream it. I just said that. But so I'll answer your question in a second. So
no, you're fine.
Years later, that's the conversation I remember. Years later, now after this family wedding that I'll tell you about, she said that I told her at that day that he said to me, "Do you want to see what a man looks like?" And that she knew that was true because he'd said that to her.
Oh God.
So to answer your question, then you're like, okay, I don't. You're like, I don't know, but I do have a little bit of insight. If I could just keep going.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So then the sexual abuse stopped after that, and she had the other child, my other half sister, and we moved to another house, and he just stopped acknowledging my presence. He just stopped speaking to me.
Wow.
Which, that's another kind of psychological abuse, right? Like, if I can't molest you at night, then I have no use for you.
Right.
Right. But he would bark orders. I mean, I remember go out and weed. So he would still just tell me to do chores, but I don't ever remember like a conversation or him. And their marriage started to fall apart. And they started to get, go through to get divorced. He cheated on her. And so they were getting divorced, and he moved out of the house. And oh my God, my brothers and I, like the relief. So
happy.
Oh,
how old were you then, Leslie?
So then I was 12.
Oh, 12. Okay.
So by then I was 12. So he moved out of the house.
6th grade.
Yeah. So then the week before I turned 13, and I know about this because I wrote about it in a diary. And you're so right I wish I'd written more, all these years, but I did write about some of it. And so he'd moved out. He no longer lived in the house. And one night I went to go to bed, and there was no laundry in the dresser, and all that was in there was an old gym uniform. I don't know if you had this,
yes,
but
right? Yeah. Oh my God, very heinous polyester.
Yes, exactly. Right,
like really, our kids do not know what that means. Like
they do not know that.
Like the major embarrassment. I mean, it was, and even when you got assigned your size, it was like, because we're all different. Girls were like, some of us had boobs. I had none. I'm like, what top is that? Like, and then if you were skinny, you got the skinny girl shorts, and ours were so tiny. I was like, somebody should not. They were like, you could.
Little short shorts. It was like a jumper.
Yeah, they were tiny.
I know.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. And ours were red, Leslie. Ours were bright red.
Oh, really? Oh,
it was
even worse. Oh my goodness.
Like, they weren't even like gray or blue. It was like we got red short shorts on.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Ours were blue. They were like blue and white striped, and then blue, and there was a zipper. But all that was in there was an old one that was broken. The zipper didn't zip.
Okay.
But I was like, whatever, it's all I had. I had to go to bed. So I put it on, and I went to bed, and I just pulled the sheets up. Well, I woke up in the middle of the night, and he was sitting on my bed.
He'd come back?
Yeah. He came back in the house on my bed. And I woke up, and I pulled the sheets, and I was like, what are you doing here? And he said, I came to say goodbye. And by then I was a little more of a teenager. So I went, bye, like a brat. And then he said, he tried to act like I care. Like he said something like, I'm going really far. I'm moving really far away. You're never going to see me again, And then he started to open up. He tried to assault me. He started to open up my top and said, like, what's going on here? But I know, so awful. And so I said, if you don't leave right now, I'm going to scream so hard, I'm going to wake up the whole house. I had a little more, by then I was a little, right? And so then he was drunk. And so he was like, okay. And then he said, and this gives you a little bit of his mindset. He goes, you're not going to understand this now, but you will when you're older, but I want you.
Oh
Can you
my
imagine?
gosh. Yeah, so disgusting.
So disgusting. And like, he was right. Like, I was 12. Like, want me for what? And then he was right also in that it wasn't until years later that I was at like some movie theater when I was 17 and I saw like Saturday Night Fever or something. And I was like, oh, ew.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what he said. So when you ask like what he was,
Right. It was definitely. Do you think he did it to other young girls along the way? Oh, you don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the chances of someone to doing that to a child so young, never doing it again, I think are pretty slim.
Right.
Pretty
Agree.
slim.
Mm-hmm.
But then he left, and so I told my mother again.
Mm-hmm.
She confronted him again. This time he confessed.
Whoa.
And well, I think she threatened that he wouldn't see his children. And he said that he didn't feel that way about them, and somehow convinced my mother to let them have a relationship with him.
Oh no. Your two younger half sisters.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was decades ago. And so when we talk about silence, I just watched your TED Talk, by the way, at Wake Forest. Oh my God, it's so good.
I totally riffed that last week. I never write speeches. I never write a speech. I was just like, what do you want to talk about?
Oh my God, that was so good. So good. But you talked about silence.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's sort of when it started. I went to a therapist one time. My mom took me to a therapist who just told us to change the locks. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
He moved away. He married that woman and started a new life, had more children. And my half-sisters had a relationship with him and continue to have a relationship with him.
Wow.
And the years went by. I know. And they went out there to this day.
Oh no.
Yeah. They went out there in the summers, and then he became very well off. He did really well for himself. So then he started, they would send gifts at Christmas.
What was his job, or is?
He is, I think he owns a company.
Okay.
I think he owns a company. So, so as the years went by, my one sister got married. So she was the first one to get married. And so then it was a question of, he was going to be at the wedding. Was I going to go to the wedding? And I feel like, I can't explain it, but it's like I was just raised to be silent. What you just said about girls being good girls.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it was like, I didn't even know there was anything to be done. It was like my mother just told me, oh, well, you would never want to hurt your sisters. Well, what good would it do? I heard that over and over again. What good would it do? I know. So I just was, I just raised, in other words, like when I look back on how silent I was, I'm kind of embarrassed for myself. That like in my 20s, I went into therapy for myself, in my 30s, but it never crossed my mind to speak out. But it was almost like I was brainwashed. I was just raised to be silent. I was pressured by my mother. It just was swept under the rug, like we live in the 1800s. Like there's nothing to be done, and we're all,
Leslie, maybe we could just talk about that silence a little bit more and hope that the podcast makes it to more women who need to hear that they don't need to protect. I think my line in my TED Talk that I use a lot is silence changes nothing. And our silence doesn't actually protect anyone except the perpetrator. We think we need to protect a whole bunch of people, and we end up crumbling inside with guilt and shame, right? And then and then we live in this half of ourselves, right? If we can be that glorious truth of all of ourselves, including the part that was abused, that's the proudest we can ever be, is like all the stuff that we have gone through. So I think you're, talking about that part of shattering your own silence is really powerful. If you could think about like what kept you quiet. You said you were trained to, but can you identify any particular mantras that were in your head? Like, whether it be your mom, like your mom said, don't ruin this for your sisters, right? That's a pretty powerful silencing tool when your mom says that, right? Like my mom was like, you're not going to get a good husband. Now you're not a virgin, right? So don't tell anyone, because now you're not. And I was like, if a guy doesn't want to marry me, I don't want to marry him. Like, I'm not going to package myself for a man anymore. I was done with thinking about that concept. I couldn't care less anymore. But that brings us to, I would just say we could talk about that, but then also the capability of loving someone else or wanting to even endure the vulnerability that comes with loving another person and the risk. Like, that's the flip side of when we're all good with this, like, crazy puzzle of ourselves, then it becomes like when I present this whole self to anyone else, and they might not like all the pieces that are there, right? It's just complicated. And this is a lot for even a tiny little interview, but I just think I really appreciate how you've been so descriptive and vulnerable and clear. It's just, you have a gift in how you speak about what you went through. I really enjoy it and appreciate it. So I kind of went to two different topics, but if we can maybe get through both. So going back to breaking your own silence and, whatever points there were along your life that got you to that vocal self, right? Like, what would you say got you there?
Well, I just want to say something about your TED Talk that really resonated with me when you said, don't wait until you have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so when you said, like, what were the other things that held me back from speaking out? So, of course, it's my love for my sisters, my wanting to be a good daughter for my mother, my being afraid of him. I mean, I when I finally picked up the phone and called someone and did something about it, I was scared to even say his name. I thought that, like, the skies were going to open up and I was going to be struck by lightning. I don't know what I thought, but I was scared. And so, like, it's like, it's right. It's your reputation. It's your family. Mostly for me, the family. I mean, I realize now that, like, my silence was the glue that held our family together. My mother tried to piece this broken situation into a family, but it was dependent on if I did nothing. Right? And let it be okay that they did nothing. I mean, that's the other part of the silence. I mean, my sisters have known for decades. I did tell them. And they did nothing.
It's unbelievable. It's just, like, blows my mind, Leslie, sometimes when we just say to, like, it's crazy to me that your sisters can't side with you, like, against a sex offender, right? It makes no sense. And not holding him accountable, right?
I know. Well, that's why I'm speaking out.
Right.
Because I don't know that, I mean, I don't know that I could ever be as brave as you and all the things you went through and the girls.
You just be you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Be you.
Thank you. I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
But when I think about 1 in 6 girls are going to be sexually assaulted before the age of 18, when I think about, when we'll talk about the wedding in a second, that this can just be, accepted in a family institution or in, schools, and how that the silencing and the pressure to stay silent still continues in this day and age. I've come to a point where I'm like, I will die on a hill for this.
Right.
I will break with my family. I will break with my family.
I think, Leslie, just one more thing I want to remind our guests, our listeners, that, you've been a champion for breast cancer. You've been a champion and have a whole foundation about autism. And, you've already done championship level work and advocacy. But what I think is so hard is those, to me, everyone's on board. Like, no one's on the side of the cancer cell. Like, nobody's like, cancer cell, we forgive you. We let you come in and, like, stick around a little while. Like, that's easy. We can all be 100% against the cancer cell. And then, the differently abled and all of that. Like, no one's there's different ways of looking at it, but it's in some ways those issues are easier to tackle because there's cures and there's research and there's everyone's, but this is the worst topic. Like ours is the most difficult one. It's like, these are human beings we really like. And it's like, I hate to say it, but our president of the United States right now is out there doing maybe some heroic things that were really hard that maybe should be done, even though maybe he's going about it the wrong way. And yet he's pretty disgusting. He cannot keep his mouth nice. Like, right? He's so sexist. And so it's like, what do we do? Right? So it's when it's a human and we have good and bad in that same human. Or think about Michael Jackson. Like, think about all the great talents of the world. A lot of the men have done really bad, disgusting things to women.
I know. Harvey Weinstein.
Like, yes. Oh my gosh. Or even some of our inventors and our musicians, like great composers. Like, it's hard to find a man who's all good. And a story. I know. I don't know. It's just, I think this is going to be the one thing that is so hard to tackle. It's just, there's not a cure. There's not a genetic material we can just extract. I don't know. And we can't even define the terms still. Like, every state has a different definition of what sexual abuse is and how long you have to file charge. Like, it's so frustrating. And then
I know.
Sorry.
I know.
Okay.
That's okay.
So back to you.
I mean, Ashley Judd, she gave a beautiful speech, and she said, children are not for sex. Mm-hmm. And men's entitlement to female bodies is what needs to change. Right. And it is shocking and appalling that in this day and age, that is still the case. And but it is. But you're right. Here we are. Look at Sean John. Diddy. Like,
Yeah.
Here we are.
So let's talk about. You've broken your silence. Let's talk about the wedding and that tipping point, and then maybe some of what you're going to work on next. So we hear about advocacy and strength.
Yeah.
So tipping point, advocacy, and strength.
Okay. So. So I went to 2 weddings, both of my sisters. I went to both weddings.
The half sisters.
Mm-hmm. I went to both. The second one, I just sat in the back. I was a bridesmaid for her, for her sake. I sat in the back. I had the worst time. I mean, I saw him. He didn't speak to me. And he spoke to my brothers, and I thought, doesn't his wife think it's strange that he wouldn't say anything to me? Don't his daughters think it's strange that he wouldn't speak to me and I wouldn't speak to him? Isn't that a red flag? No. But so right before I got breast cancer, I was in the Home Depot parking lot, and it's a quick side story, but I almost got hit by a car. I didn't, but a car came hurtling toward me. I almost got hit. Like, the car brushed my legs, and I started shaking and crying, and people came running over to me in the parking lot. Like, are you okay? Are you okay? And the driver felt horrible. He's like, I didn't see you. I'm so sorry. But I was shaking and crying. Like, it was really scary. I touched the car. Like, I was on my tippy toes. It was super scary. So I said, no, I'm fine. And I went back to my car, and I was putting the seatbelt on, and all of a sudden I remembered him on top of me. In that downstairs bedroom, and him saying to me, am I too heavy? And I remembered saying yes. And then he barely moved. Like, he wasn't really asking. It was a rhetorical question. It wasn't, he didn't really care. But in that moment in the car, I remember thinking, wow, that was random. That was weird. And then I realized trauma, right? The trauma of the car almost hitting me, that part of your brain that is just so shut down that, another traumatic event, as right, can trigger some memories.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first time that I was like, this is not right. That was the first time that I just thought, this happened to me. This is not right. The way my mother is dealing with it, the way my family, I was like, this cannot be. And so that's when I called an attorney. I started to do research and read more. I read a wonderful book, Amy Griffin's book, The Tell.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great book. I just started to listen to other people's stories. That's how I found you. But then I got cancer. So I got a little sidetracked. So, so I got cancer. I went through that. And then there was an incident where I got in an argument with one of my sisters, and we had a bit of a falling out. And so that's how her daughter, the one who had the wedding, found out about this. And I called her and I told her the whole story. This is his granddaughter. She's getting married. And about a year before her wedding, I told her the whole story. And she said that she was shocked but not surprised, because he's awful to everyone. And she just felt horrible for me. So then I said, I just have to tell you, if he's going to your wedding, I can't. And she said, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's a long ways away. Mm-hmm. Well, what ended up happening was that I wasn't invited. Me and my boys weren't invited.
Oh.
And for other reasons, the falling out that my sister had, it was her decision for other reasons. But it ended up that now there's this family wedding. I'm not invited. My whole family, a few of them reached out to me and said they felt horrible. One relative said they didn't know what to do. I said to my mom, you're not going to go. And she said, well, I couldn't hurt. I wouldn't want to hurt her granddaughter. So I said, oh, but you can hurt me. And then she said, oh, well, now I don't know what to do. I know, it's the same thing of okay, so this was September. So they all went. They all got dressed up. And I didn't anticipate my reaction to this. I didn't know my response to this. But when I started to see the photos on social media, I fell apart. I'm a pretty strong person. I fell apart. I was distraught. I cried and cried and cried. I called my pastor. I called every friend that's close to me. I leaned on my children. I had what felt like a breakdown. I realize now, though, I love this, but I realize now it was a breakthrough.
Nice.
Right? I was having, it was that breaking of oh my God, And so I called RAINN a bunch of times. They were so helpful. One counselor said to me, she said, listen, the sad thing is no one has your back. She said, you need to find other people in your life who you can lean on and trust. Your children, So I managed to recover. And so when I say a breakthrough, it wasn't as easy as that. It was really emotional. It was really, this is my family, and I have children and they love them. And, it's easy to say you're going to break from your family, but where are you going to go? Mm-hmm. So I decided to set that boundary and to just be like, all right, you know what? It's my family, but I don't have to be close to them. Right? How can you be close to someone that doesn't have your back? Ultimately,
right.
How can you?
100%.
It's just too hard. So then I got a therapist, and that's when I started posting on social media. So I was kind of cryptic. This is really the first time I've really shared the story. I just posted that something had happened to me, and then I just started posting about sexual assault in general. I posted a lot from Take Back the Night. I posted from RAINN, and I just started posting, and I got a bunch of messages.
Yay!
Right? I got a friend from high school who said, she told me her whole story in a message. She was like, this happened to me, and she just told me her whole story.
Amazing.
She said, thank you. Said, thank you so much. And then a mom that I knew just sent me a message, and she said, hello from a fellow survivor.
Oh,
I know. And that's when I thought, I will die on a hill for this.
I love that, Leslie.
Right?
I love
it's so important.
Yeah. So I guess in the last, I would love to hear just 2 or 3 more things that you're going to do next. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me.
Story. Thank you for being bold. Thank you for also being, I think you've been very judicious and generous, right? Like you're someone who's not putting blame on other people. You're, talking about your own weaknesses, strengths. Like I think it's really lovely to have someone like you to show our survivors, like, wallowing doesn't really serve, working toward, getting in a solid place. Like, you're doing amazing work, and it all makes great sense. So I just appreciate that very much. And I always say another thing that I'm thinking our listeners need to hear is, it doesn't matter if you're listening and you're 80 or 90. Like, when I was on Time Magazine, they gave out my address. And so, without my permission, but it was okay. It was like you, it's like posting on social media. And I got handwritten letters back then from, like, one grandma in North Dakota had never shared her story until she wrote me a letter. So it's the same thing. So I think one of the things that you're reminding me about is the power of our voices and our own stories, and we're not alone. The podcast is so we're not alone. When you post, we're not alone. And when we start to become a crushing majority of voices, it will be harder to ignore the stories behind them, right? So to me, this podcast and your work and everyone listening, take up this one more drop in the bucket mentality. Like, you might not fill up with a hose in one moment. Like, my work's been, oh my God, 35 years of work. I'm so old. 35
oh my God.
Years. Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yes, I'm 53, so 35 years of work. And I'm not stopping. Like, let's hope I get 35 more to go. But it just means, like, every single time, just move on to the next thing, right? Like you're doing. I think and making wise choices and you're setting boundaries. You're deciding how to assign weight and, presence to different people in your life. And that assignment in and of itself is powerful. You're being very deliberate and thoughtful. So I see, like, all this amazing stuff in you that you're like all the teachable moments. Like, I hope our listeners are just like, I'm helping you. Like, I'm analyzing you too. So I'm just saying, like, these are the things, having worked in this, like, talked to thousands and thousands, like, but what you're doing right now, Leslie, is all the great stuff that a survivor should be doing, and starting on whatever date, like, and then knowing you might go backwards. There might be some dates like you're like, oh my God, I hate this. I want to just take more showers all day long, right? But, and then if you talk to someone like me, and we can, like, talk about those stupid gym shorts that, you were assaulted in, and at least we can bond over that and reframe it. We can talk about, like, what it's like to be a girl as a 13-year-old wearing stupid gym shorts from the 70s.
I know.
But I guess, so I've been talking, but the last thing is kind of what you're going to do next, and what keeps you motivated to keep going on the journey.
Well, I think spreading the message of silence changes nothing, and sharing my story, because in my case, it was decades of silence. So decades of silence gets to be so loud that it's almost impenetrable, So encouraging women to come forward, like you said, don't wait until you have nothing to lose, and also encouraging mothers. And I mean, I think in my case, this was a long time ago, but there was a lot of thinking that, oh, you don't want to put your child through that. You don't want to put your child, on the stand, so they would have to retell the story of what happened to them. But the truth is, that's incredibly healing.
100%.
Right? Yeah. My son took a criminal justice class, and one of the things about why we have criminal justice is because it helps the victims heal.
So there's this. It's more helpful, Leslie, too. I think we can say that the level of training and knowledge is much, much better. It's not perfect, but I think in its best form, it's 100% what you just said.
Exactly. And certainly some women are in a position where coming forward is not safe for them. And I understand that. But I think there are a lot that are like you and me, where it's society. It was the way it was received in college. It was your mother. It's my mother. It's the family. It's the school. It's society. And that's where so my plans going forward, I'm writing about it.
Good.
Right. I'm just going to write a blog similar to this, and get that published, and then maybe write a book. I write for a living. So
That's good.
That's a possibility. I used to work for a company that provided mental health in schools. So I wrote a lot for them. So I have some experience.
Perfect.
So that, and then just trying to get out there and even just speak to women's organizations just a little bit in my local area.
That sounds ideal.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so excited to keep following your journey, Leslie. I'm really just delighted to have you on the show. I know it took a little bit of scheduling and around my touring and all that, but
I know.
Lovely. And I guess, thank you. We'll put everything, people know where to find you from the show notes.
Yeah.
And just listeners, continue on with that. I mean, today, oh my gosh, like lots more stuff to write in that journal. It doesn't matter if your story, Leslie and our stories are really different, but there's so much common experience in the healing process, and the triggers, and the getting really stuck in parts, and getting afraid, and working through it. But it's fine. There's nothing that's not normal. So just do great self-care. And Leslie, again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Yeah, and we'll be cheering you on when you're giving your local speeches.
Okay, thank you so much, Katie. It was so nice to meet you.
Take care, and everyone take good care. Surviving, thriving. Right. Here we go. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Dear Katie. These conversations are never easy, but they're always necessary, and we're so grateful you chose to share this space with us. If something in today's episode stirred something within you, please give yourself what you need. Whether that's rest, support, or just a deep breath, you're not alone. To hear more stories, resources, and survivor-centered conversations, be sure to subscribe and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to hear from you, so please leave us a review and share your feedback. Your thoughts help us create episodes that resonate with listeners. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.